Hi, thanks for watching. Let's have a look at astrology next week, April the 1st to the 7th. That's Monday, April the 1st, right through to next Sunday, April the 7th. We begin tomorrow with the moon entering Pisces. Now, there is a longish void of course there, goes on for quite a long time. During a void of course, best not to do anything that attracts new action. Best really to go back over things that have gone on in recent times. Make sure they're working the way you want them to work. Make sure everybody's on board as well. And that's great because that also goes with the waning cycle of the moon. And we're well into third quarter now, which strictly speaking is last half really as you look at the moon. But she's waning at the moment. We actually get to the cycle starts in a big way because the moon enters Aries on Thursday, and then on Friday we actually get the new moon, and that's when all the new inspiration comes, but everything else is at a lull, and ideas start coming because of the quietness of other things. But it's not really going to be a great time to put those ideas into practice until the next week. And that's another story for this week. Yes, let me see. So Monday, Pisces, long void of course, and then at 7:47 a.m. Pacific, 10:47 a.m. Eastern, and 15:47 in the UK. The moon actually enters Pisces, and then we get the Piscean influence, which actually can be a bit scattered in some ways, but it is as emotional as it is also, it's about compassion, and we do find a lot of healing happening, and there is healing strongly indicated this week as we go forward as well. So that's a great thing. We've actually had two experiences of Chiron in the charts in a big way in the last 2 weeks. So the healing energy is there, and the Pisces moon really plays into it in a good way. You may actually be prepared to make sacrifices. It really depends on the situation. It might be a cruel to be kind thing, you never know. That really depends where you are and what's happening with you, but you may want to actually make sacrifices. It's just not a great time for cool logic, you know. That's the only thing I'd say about Pisces, that I could say is a rock solid thing across all the different signs. But there we go, that's Pisces. We also got Apogee on the same day, Monday. That's actually, well, 1:13 a.m. on the Monday in UK time, so it's actually late. On Sunday, the 31st of March in USA, that we get Apogee, and that is when the moon is the furthest away that she gets from the perimeter of the Earth. The opposite is perigee, when she's right on the perimeter, or the perigee, as close as she can get the perimeter of her orbit. She's that bit further away. I mean, she's 140,000 miles away at the best of times, but she's that bit further away than usual at the moment. So the lunar energy isn't terribly strong, or at least it's not as strong as usual. Still, moon in Pisces, and we certainly will feel the effects of that. The heat of Mercury retrograde is more or less off. We're still actually in post-shadow right through this week and next week. But post-shadow, as I keep saying, tends to be about good news. It's not about confusing things happening. It's not about people falling out exactly. It's about people moving on and, doing whatever they have to do to make that happen. But certainly more about positivity than negative little reminders coming up, which we so often get in the retrograde phase. Okay, so that's Monday, moon in Pisces. On Tuesday, the moon is still in Pisces, and we've got Mercury conjunct Neptune, and that's going to bring a fair bit of confusion into the picture. Neptune, of course, associated with the wildest sort of out there thoughts that somehow work in this world because of the laws of the universe and the spiritual truths of things, which are, I'm sure, eternal. That's going to be an important thing to hang on to, though, that idea of the spiritual truth, because Mercury and Neptune, well, just confusing. There's a certain amount of healing around with Mercury this week, actually. Healing energy, excuse me, the healing energy this week is really coming from Mercury and Mars. And that seems to me like leaving a monkey with a machine gun in charge of small children. But nevertheless, it's supposed to be good on that basis. Neptune, of course, is the actual ruling planet of Pisces, so that it really is going to play into the nature of things at the beginning of the week as we come towards it, because it's the applying aspects that really matter. That itself comes to a head on Wednesday. We get to Thursday, the 4th of April, and the moon actually enters Aries at, well, it's 3:56 a.m. in UK time, which does mean actually it's later on Wednesday. Let me see, 7:56 p.m. Pacific, 10:56 p.m. Eastern, and I'll say it again, 3:56 a.m. here in UK UTC, which is actually now UTC +1. Time retrograde has ended. It's Sunday the 31st of March as I'm recording this, so if you're watching in the future, that's why I'm saying this, but our clocks in the UK have gone forward, so we're in the usual balance of time now, which is kind of much easier to deal with when you're trying to give times out. So 3:56 a.m. UTC on Thursday, that Aries moon, it's coming in towards the end of the day, towards the end of the evening, really, in the States and Canada. So it'll still be a new influence on Thursday morning. Aries, it's the Ram energy, it's pushing forward, and that's a great thing, but the Ram can be a bit impetuous, and it is going to be on Thursday, because the new moon actually doesn't come in until it's actually Friday, wherever you are in the world. Let me see, that it's giving it as 9:50 a.m. on Friday. So that then I guess it's got to be 1:50 a.m. Pacific, 4:50 a.m. Eastern. So that's a Friday thing wherever we are. The new moon and then the new energy, that all kind of goes with the Aries, the Ram pushing forward, especially as it's springtime in the Northern Hemisphere at the moment. So it's all that forward thrusting energy. But we sort of just know that when it's a new moon, so much of the actual supportive kind of forces of nature are at a lull that I'm not even going to say almost, it is the best thing to wait 2 or 3 days before we start launching those big plans. So hang on to those into next week, folks. But it's a new weekend, it's an innovative weekend. And on Saturday at 2 in UK, the UTC, the moon enters Taurus, and so there's more charging forward energy. Taurus really plays into what happens with Aries at the same time. But then Taurus's ruling planet is Venus, so it does have that esoteric side, that kind of out there, that nurturing side to it. And it is actually a good time with the moon in Taurus to take a complete rest. So it can either add to Aries, the Ram, and push you forward, or it can get right in the way of that and just force you to take a rest. And I'd strongly suggest that's the thing to do, because it really is new moon at that time. And then as we get through to Sunday, it's all pretty much the same picture, just the influences have begun to change. The moon doesn't actually enter Gemini until Monday the 8th, so it doesn't change anywhere in the world, because that's actually 22:14 UTC. So it doesn't change anywhere else in the world on Sunday. That's pretty much when it calms down. But we've got Chiron in the picture as well. That's something I wanted to give its own separate little spot to. Mars makes a minor sextile with Chiron on Wednesday, right slap bang in the middle of the week, Wednesday the 3rd, just before the Aries, the Ram energy comes in and starts really pushing things forward. So it's an opportunity for more healing. And the reason I kind of separate this out, this to me is the big opportunity of the week, because the Sun and Chiron met up last week and there was a lot of healing around that as well. Some political situations moved forward. I don't think any answers have been found anywhere in the world from what I've been looking at, but some political situations moved forward. Now this Wednesday the 3rd, with Mars sextiling Chiron, it's more of a personal thing really, and the Mars energy is actually going to be very positive and very gentle in that effect. So that's likely to bring healing and break down people's resistance, make us all that bit more willing to put a bit more into the journey forward when we get into the Aries moon on Thursday. But I've got to really keep emphasising this. It's not the time to go forward, it's the time to think forward. Maybe it's always the time to think forward, but that really does matter a lot at the present time. So it's looking a very inspiring week. It starts off in a very gentle way with the moon in Pisces on Monday the 1st. By the time we get to Wednesday, we've got the Chiron thing going on there with Mars, so healing is coming, and that's actually it's making the way for the inspiration to come in. The inspiration is going to come in a big way with Aries. It really is. That's the way it's lined up. So the new moon is going to be another time of inspiration when essentially we're finding actually ideas from within ourselves more than anything. As magical as they seem, this is the magic of the soul. It is actually real, what's within us. Then we've got Taurus to make us take a rest, which really is the sensible thing to do. Or if you've got to do something with all that Taurian bull energy and do something, do something constructive, some sport, something that burns up your energy and is fun. Recharge your batteries that way. That's next weekend. It's all looking pretty good, all looking very inspiring, as long as we take the time to step back, to think, to reflect as we're going along here and there, and as long as we really take a good rest next weekend. So, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, you know what to do. Subscribe, tap the bell so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment and we'll share the journey. Thanks to all the new subscribers, and thanks to people for leaving comments and everything. I'm not trying to ever going to make this a monetary YouTube channel where adverts come onto it or anything like that. It's about astrology, and it's essentially about my spiritual take on astrology as well, if I'm honest. That's what I'm here for. So, chat away. It's probably not going to grow all that big. Another channel of mine is growing a lot, and it's, somehow it becomes a little bit less personal when it's like that, which is a great pity. I don't want this one to be like that. So leave me a comment. We will share the journey, and thanks again for watching. Have a great week. Goodbye.